issue is that as a student association advocating for students, we had several students approached our research and political science commissioner, that's Franz Dalla, with a case that they have tried to engage the Atlantic management for a while now about them being rejected to refuse to register to enroll into a program offered at the school, which is enrolled nursing, after completing the auxiliary nursing certificate, which was supposed to be a bridging course to do enrolled nursing at the institution. So we have over 80 students who were refused to continue to the next level. And so now the student have been trying to engage the school about the matter, but the school has not been bending into the student and listening to them. Instead, the school have been providing the student with a lot of excuses and come next time, we will resolve next time. So that's when the student opted, to seek NASA's assistance, and that's why we have to step in for the students.
Okay, so what you are saying in summary is that students enrolled at Atlantic Institute here, and then they did a bridging course, hoping that once you complete it, then you get admitted now to the proper full course.
Yes.
And the institute is not admitting them further.
Yeah.
And they are stuck with these certificates that they got, and they can't do much with that certificate.
Yes.
What is the school's excuse? What are the students being told by the school?
The school is telling students with the reasoning of this new nursing council development that came up that a student to go forward with enrolled nursing should at least have a minimum of 22 points in grade 12, and majority of the students now do not reach the requirement for the nursing council. So, and again, the school has offered to classes to these students in auxiliary nursing, but the students were never offered with a certificate or any official document from the school. So now that's the argument of the student, that they did a course, they paid a lot of money for it, but then in the end they are not allowed to continue with their education forward, and then they were not offered with a document that at least they can use to utilize in the job market. And the school argument is also that the course is not accredited by NQA. And
which one?
The auxiliary nursing course.
Okay, sorry. The bridging course is not
accredited by NQA.
Okay.
And also that renders it's not recognized by the nursing council, so the student cannot use it for any professional job or something.
I see.
Yes.
The nursing council, that decision that that announcement that they made that students may only enroll for the full nursing course if they have 22 points. You say 22 points.
Yeah, 22 points.
That is a new announcement before students enrolled for the bridging course, or it has always been like that?
Atlantic had 2 intakes, which we are handling their case now, which was the 2024 August intake and the 2025 March intake. So these students are both affected by the new development of the nursing council. But we believe that the school have been aware of this development because these new policies of the nursing council have been announced late last year, which is 2024. And so we feel like as an association, it was a duty of the institution to inform students at the earlier stage that this is the new development that's coming up. So, and the school have been trying just to give us excuses that this was a rushed decision by the nursing council. So it's also kind of like unfair to the students that they had students that are already sitting, and then the decision was passed. That means it affects also those ones who were already sitting for their classes. So they feel like these students should be excluded from the decision. And the school also have not been, maybe let's say, not too committed to handling the issue, because we've been trying to ask them as an association, what steps did you take to engage the Atlantic, the nursing council? But no communication or feedback have been provided to us.
Anyone interested in the news, anyone with some interest in farming, cattle, etc., would have read the story even since last year.
Yeah.
Now, basically what happened last year, the push came around about July, August to reappoint the CEO at that time when his contract was terminated in the end of January. Now, one has to go back to this. How does the decision making around the CEO works to understand the whole situation? First of all, Meatco, or the Meat Corporation of Namibia, is guided by the Meat Corporation of Namibia Act 1 of 2021. It came into force on the 3rd of May 2021. It was subsequently amended in 2004 at the end of December 2004.
2004 or 2024?
2004.
Because you said it was enacted in
amended in 2004. The Act
Okay.
of 2001 was amended in 2004. Minor adjustments that they've made into the Act, yeah. But now you have to look at the Act specifically, and I just want to take out a few points here. One concerning the Board of Directors, then submissions by matters to the Minister, the CEO specifically, and the liquidation of the corporation. Now, one must remember that the Parliament is the ones, they are the lawmakers. So they do make the laws. Meaning, if it is signed by the President, eventually this is then the law, and you cannot go against the law. Now, the same Parliament who were responsible for the Meat Corporation Act is now trying to step around the provisions of the Act. Let me give you a few ideas just to make it simple. If you look at the definitions, for instance, it says the board means the board of the corporation to be appointed by the minister. Okay? And the CEO, I'll come to that, means being appointed by the board.
Yes.
It's not a discrepancy, that's how the law is. If you look at the composition of the law, there are certain number of people from certain interest groups. And what they have to do, let's say for instance, one person from a certain group, then you have to submit to the minister 2 names, which the minister then have the prerogative to pick one of the 2. Okay? And then that selected few will then constitute the board. They also decide the chairperson, and they then appoint the chief executive officer. That's by law. Meaning, it's nothing to do with cabinet. It's the minister and the board.
So
Now,
the minister appoints the board, and the board
appoints the CEO.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Now, in this case, one of your papers also carried that story where the new Minister of Agriculture also said that you have to reappoint the same person. You will not find that provision anywhere in this Meatco Act, meaning he may not appoint or reappoint the person. He can advise the board. Let's get to that provision. It says, I'm going to read it to you. It's a little bit, you have to understand this, the wording. And any act is about the interpretation. Okay, it says, the board shall, at the request of the minister, or may in its own accord, submit to the minister in his or her cognizance any matter relating to performance of the functions of the board in terms of this act. So there's a communication provision between the minister and the board. Then it says, on the receipt of any matter submitted under subsection 1, the one that I've just mentioned, the minister may. The word is may. Make such recommendations to the board with regard to the manner in which the matter is to be dealt with as the minister thinks fit. May. He doesn't have to, or she doesn't have to, but they may do that. Then, number 3 under this section says, before taking a decision on any matter submitted under subsection 1 that I've read, the board shall have due regard to the recommendation made by the minister under this previous subsection. It does not say they have to.
Yeah.
They can say, we've taken your advice into consideration, but we disagree with you. That's the provision of the board.
So at current estimates, obviously as we go through the feasibility study, we'll get to a more refined figure of what that looks like. But at current estimates, the project will cost around 10 billion US dollars. I think that's in Namibian terms almost 190 billion Namibian dollars, so equivalent to the GDP of the country. And of course, those funding will go towards putting up the required infrastructure, all the way from wind turbines, solar panels, putting up the required pipelines to pump the water and the hydrogen to and from the different sites, including other infrastructure such as ammonia storage facilities, port facilities, roads, and a long list of infrastructure that needs to be put up. Because the scale of the project is so large, and that demands really why the project cost will be that high.
Yeah. And I guess with such a big project, you can't make mistakes. That's why you got to do all these studies and preparation.
100%. I mean, that's why we're doing this over the 2-year period, right? But we've actually started earlier than that. Is really to understand what are the environmental sort of sensitivities in the area, environmental risk, and what do we need to avoid and mitigate. And then based on that, they can help us understand, from a technical perspective, how we can design and hopefully develop this particular project. And then, of course, look at other elements around raising the finances and ensuring that we have the right offtake for the project.
Tell us more about the local content roadshow that Hyphen is engaged upon. Which towns have you visited, and where will the roadshow go next?
Sure. So I think you might be aware that as Hyphen, we've set ourselves some targets around what we want to localize. So in the agreement, we said we would want to spend at least 30% of the investment on local companies providing goods and services, throughout the construction and operations period. Now, for us to assess how plausible that is, we undertook a number of studies to help us understand, one, where do we see the value chain or supply chain opportunities, and then where are the opportunities for local companies to provide some of those goods and services. So now that we've done sort of that baseline assessment, we were now at a stage where we wanted to engage different industries and businesses in particular around where we see the opportunities are and how we potentially foresee them, being onboarded into the process. So we decided to collaborate with NIPDB and NCCI to do what we call local content engagements. We've visited so far Swakopmund, Oshakati, Lutherets. Last week we were in Zambezi region just to engage a few businesses. And now we're planning to go to a few more other towns, including the Kavango West, Kavango East, Omaheke, and then we'll have a few more engagements in Khomas. Of course, we will, we're going to look at other 4 platforms to utilize to also reach out and engage, more and more businesses and industries to help create awareness and share some of the information that we have.
Is it practical to go to Zambezi, Kavango West, Kavango East when the project is in the deep south?
Yeah, no, it's a valid question. I mean, the reason why we went to Zambezi is we actually synchronized some of our other internal efforts. So you might have seen part of our team members at Hyphen also doing what we call the Socioeconomic Development Framework roadshows. So the team was on their way to Zambezi, and we felt that, because we are creating awareness and sharing information, we might as well just engage stakeholders in the Zambezi region as well to share some of the information for the project. Although the project is in Lutherets, we believe that Namibia is a unitary state, and businesses and individuals will be coming from different parts of the country to come and take up opportunities within the project. So it is important for us as well to make sure that we engage other regions and other towns as well.
Talking about those opportunities, can you share with us some of the initial results from the baseline study investigating potential local content opportunities for Namibian businesses?
Yeah, I think the the crux or the principle of doing the study was really to understand where does Namibia have the capacity and capability to undertake some of the goods and services that we foresee for the project. And there are some obvious ones. Construction industry is one of the most easy or low-hanging opportunities because Namibia has developed over time a lot of civil construction capability. We see a lot of potential local companies participating in that space, especially when you talk about building roads and building, required infrastructure within the project. Other opportunities where we see some local content being optimized is in transport and logistics, because we will be moving quite a huge number of not only containers but also abnormal traffic. We will be requiring a lot of container trucks, abnormal trucks to help us move some of the equipment and technology from the port to the site. And then of course there are other opportunities around the solar industry, because we are putting up a lot of solar panels for the project. We believe that there's an opportunity for local solar PV installers to take up some of the opportunities that present themselves in the project. Other opportunities include, heavy plant equipment and machinery. For example, we will be putting up long kilometers of road. So we need, excavators, bulldozers, loaders, and the likes to be available for us to be able to put up some of the roads and, other infrastructure for the project. And then you get, other more low-hanging opportunities, simple things such as security companies that we will need to help secure the site and make sure that the equipment is safe. Because we are planning to employ about 15,000 people, those people will need to eat and they will need certain services. So catering services and all of those associated services are key areas where we see local companies participating. And then a few others, including cement manufacturing and concrete, are some of those other opportunities. Of course, it's a long list of opportunities. We've identified almost close to 40 different supply chains that we think Namibian companies can participate. And the idea now with these engagements is for us to share some of that and what we see some of the challenges and opportunities for local companies are.
So Passover is a very much important religious event in the Christianity community. So Passover, as it means like pass over. This means like something that passed by. Yeah, like Passover. That's like in the English term, it means like something that is passed over. Yeah, so it have a very much important meaning in the Christianity community. Yes.
So I mean, in practical terms, what is it that is passing over and to where, from where to where?
Yeah. If you read the Bible very well, especially in the book of Exodus, there was a time when the children of Israel were being rescued from the slavery of Pharaoh in Egypt. So, and God appointed Moses to go and rescue them. Now, there was this punishment. There were kind of a lot of them. And there were signs for God to show his power that I'm the Lord speaking and I want you to rescue the children of Israel from your slavery. The slavery of Pharaoh. So one of the punishment was death. Remember, there was first this water turning into blood and all those things. Now there was death, whereby it was killing all the firstborn, whereby even the firstborn of Pharaoh died. Now God instructed Moses that now go and slaughter lamb. And all the children of Israel were told to do that. So to go in the houses and put this blood on the entrance of the houses at the door. So this means that if you have done that, the death that was killing all the people, it will now pass over. So it's an old religious thing in the book of Exodus, and it's in the Old Testament.
Was Jesus born that time or not yet?
Yeah, Jesus was not born that time because Jesus came in the New Testament from the book of Matthew there. That's when Jesus was born.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so Passover this weekend, is it Passover or something else? Because I'm trying, because this weekend it's around the death of Jesus.
Yeah.
Meaning this event happened only after Jesus was born. So does Passover fit into this weekend, or is this a completely different thing?
Yeah, you see, it just came as a coincidence. Remember, even Jesus himself celebrated Passover with his disciples. And it happened that in that weekend, where they were having this Holy Communion and Passover, is when he was betrayed by this cold man, Judas. That's now the death happened in that event. So now it's put together. So that's why now people are confusing it mostly with the Passover. It was the death of Jesus. Maybe Jesus passed on or what. But it just happened in that weekend. But then it have a significant importance in the Christianity. So for me to prove that Jesus himself also celebrated the Passover, you can find it in the book of Matthew, chapter 26, verse 17 to 24 there. So
what does it say?
Yeah, if you read it, it says that on the first day of the festival of unleavened bread, the Jesus disciple came and asked, "Where do you want us to go and prepare for you to eat Passover?" Remember, this is now was Jesus. Jesus was now talking to the disciple of Jesus was now talking to him. They were asking, "Where do you want us to go and prepare the Passover?" Meaning that it was a religious celebration. Even Jesus himself was celebrating it. Yeah, and then he replied in verse 18. The Bible said that he said, "Go into the city, certain man, and say to him, the teacher said, my time is at hand. I'll keep my Passover at your house with my disciples." So meaning that Jesus also requested a house, a certain house of a wealthy man in that town where they wanted to celebrate Passover. So this was a celebration. Now, the death of Jesus now happened that during that time. So maybe we can now unpack how the death of Jesus happened, and how now it have a significant, important meaning in the Christianity community.
Yeah. Before we do that, what is the biblical significance of Passover? Because if even Jesus, you said, was celebrating it, and is it still celebrated actually to this day, or you said now it's celebrated essentially together with?
The death of Jesus and his resurrection.
Yeah.
So it have really there's something that is very divine about it. See, people were being saved from the death that was killing people, as it's called Passover. And now Jesus came when he was celebrating it, and again he died, meaning that there was a new era again, how God was saving us again through the death of Jesus. Can you see how these things are intertwined or interconnected? Yeah, so now it is very much important, just like Christmas, the birth of Jesus. Yeah, so it's very much important.
And this Easter now itself, what can you tell us about its origins? I mean, I know that Jesus was betrayed, and then he was crucified in the end, died, put on the cross, killed, and I think it's a lot of stories there that you can educate us about a little bit.
Yeah. So now during that Passover, now Jesus now was betrayed by one of his disciples, which is Judas. In that evening when they were now eating, celebrating Passover, so now that's when now the main event happened, whereby Judas happened to connect with some outsiders to betray Jesus, and then Jesus was arrested, and then he was put in jail, was thrown in jail, and then he went through the court proceeding, just like we have in our countries. Then the conviction thereof was now death sentence.
What was he accused of? Why did they arrest him? What sin did he? What What crime did he commit?
No, the crime that they accused him with, it was called blasphemy.
Yeah.
So remember, the king that was ruling by that time, Pilate. So he was like a president. Remember those years there were no presidents. So they accused him that he wanted to overthrow the government. So in nowadays term, you could say it's high treason to overthrow a leader.
Yeah.
So it was not really true because Jesus was calling himself a king. That's why he said, my kingdom is not of this earth. So they misunderstood him. They thought he was trying to be a king to overthrow the government. This is the reason why he was arrested, and then he was prosecuted, and then he was found guilty.